Today's Palm Sunday, by the way, it's a moment. I know it. The Palm Sunday in the church has a calendar. In a day like today, Jesus came to the city of Jerusalem, and people were waving palms as he was walking in, celebrating that the king was coming into this town. And there's this beautiful moment of, it just demonstrates the human desire for liberation. And this is not my message. I'm just going to give you I just want to give you a quick rundown of Palm Sunday. 150 years before Jesus came to the city, there was another man that came through the city that fight for that city and give freedom to that city, fighting for them. As this man was coming into Jerusalem, they were waving the palms to swell as a celebration that God liberated them. 150 years later, Jesus comes through the same path, and they do the same thing. As they were saying, do it again how it's been done before. Bring liberation to us. The problem was that the liberation that they were going to experience was nothing to do with a political freedom. It had to do with their heart. And they never understood that. So this morning, friends, this is my Palm Sunday sermon. You can take it with you and use it anytime. And my hope is that as today we celebrate and we understand that the freedom that comes with Jesus is not always in the outward, that he is more worried about our inner world and what happens in our hearts. To bring freedom here, that's what it matters. With that being said, family, we're going to close our conversation on decrease. This conversation on growing in the way of Jesus, growing as apprentices of Jesus. That we don't grow by doing more. We grow by decreasing more. And today I want to talk to you about listening and knowing his voice. Knowing his voice. I want to take you to this moment in the life of Jesus in John chapter 10, verse 1. It says this, I tell you the truth. Anyone who sneaks over the wall of the sheepfold rather than going through the gate must surely be a thief and robber. But the one who enters through the gates is the shepherd of the sheep. The gatekeeper opens the gate for him, and the sheep recognize his voice and come to him. He calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. Let's jump to verse 11 real quick. I'm the good shepherd. The good shepherd sacrifices his life for the sheep. A hired hand will run when he sees a wolf coming. He will abandon the sheep because they don't belong to him, and he isn't their shepherd. And so the wolf attacks them and scatters the flock. The hired hand runs away because he's working only for the money. He doesn't really care about the sheep. I am the good shepherd, Jesus says, and I know my sheep, and they know me. Just as the Father knows me, I know the Father. So I sacrifice my life for the sheep. I have other sheep too that are not in this sheepfold. I must bring them also. They will listen to my voice. There will be one flock with one shepherd. Let me pray for you real quick. God, Jesus, thank you so much for allowing us to be here and what you're already doing in this place. Let us be attentive. Give us the boldness to take decisions. Help us understand and help us bring clarity. How do we connect with your voice more and more every single day, because you want to speak to us. We ask you this in your beautiful name, Jesus, and Southside says, and everybody says, hey friends, have you ever been like in a road and then you get to a point where there's nothing happening in the middle of the land, like there's nothing happening in there. That happens to me when I'm driving to LA. There's a 6-hour drive. And when I'm driving through the fields of Bakersfield, like I'm done in there. Like I feel like I'm going to get lost in my mind. There's nothing happening. There's just fields, straight road. And I don't know. I can go crazy. And sometimes I get tired on my phone. Like I get tired of listening to podcasts or maybe even listening to something else. And I turn on the radio once in a while to see what we listen to it, And as I'm listening to the radio station, there's a frequency that is playing. But as soon as I hit the middle between, obviously, my location, which is Sassoon, to LA, and the middle of Bakersfield, all of a sudden 2 stations just start fighting. Like I'm trying to listen to something, and all of a sudden the stations just start fighting, and I'm not able to even to listen to one station. And I need to get out of that place so that I can actually listen to one of the stations that is trying to come through the same frequency. You know what I came to understand is that you know which frequency or station is going to win? Is the one that you're going to move towards, not the one that you're moving away from. So my desire, my suggestion this morning is that if you want to grow in you're listening to God, you need to move towards Him. That is the frequency that is going to win. That is the voice that is going to win. You know, it's so funny. Jesus gives us this beautiful picture and this analogy that He is the good shepherd. That He is the good shepherd and that He speaks and His sheep know His voice. In other words, that we are designed, that you and I are wired, that you and I have the capacity to listen to the voice of the Creator. That you and I actually can be moved by the voice of the one who designed us and the one who cares for us. You know, in verse 5, he talks about how there's other voices, the enemy. That there are other voices that are trying to pull us away from that voice and bring us close to their other voice of the enemy. You know, it's interesting because I don't know, have you ever heard the term noise pollution? Have you ever heard that term, noise pollution? And see, noise pollution is created, it says that it's created by traffic noise, by air noise, by construction sites, by animals, by nightlife. There's just so much happening that the noise pollution is causing an effect in our bodies. That we're stressed, that we have anxiety, that we have respiratory agitations, that we have high blood pressure, that we have headaches, that we don't know how to focus into something because of the impact of noise pollution. Let's add another layer, the voice of your own brokenness. Let's add another layer, the voice of the enemy that is against you and wants to destroy you. So what I'm trying to tell you is there is so much happening out there that is trying to rob you from hearing the voice of God, that we need to understand that all this noise has an impact in us. That it has an impact. C.S. Lewis, the writer of the Chronicles of Narnia, says, and he calls this the kingdom of noise. That you and I need to work through the kingdom of noise to hear the voice of God. The term, the definition of noise is, the definition of noise is any sound that is undesired or interfering with one's hearing of something. See, you and I gonna need to fight through the noise to hear His voice. Because noise is gonna cause in us confusion, it's gonna cause in us distraction. See, and the worst is that we get overwhelmed with the chaos of the noise. See, many of us, I believe, this is probably one of the most important things you and I can develop in our lives. How do we pause and quiet the noise to hear the voice of God in our lives? How do I quiet the noise so that I can hear what my Creator has to say about my life? How do I discern His voice in the midst of all of that noise? This is probably one of the most important you and I need to learn how to develop in our lives. See, Jesus gives this analogy that He is a shepherd and we are the sheep. Now, I have a problem. Sheep, Jesus, really? Like, can you call me something else? Like a peacock? Like, they're beautiful, you know what I mean? Like, feathers open up, colors, like majestic. Or a lion, at least, you know, like a lion is majestic, roars. It's like, just call me something like that. A sheep. Man, the sheep, some of them eat their own poop when they have no food. They're clumsy. They're dumb. But if a sheep knows how to develop and attentiveness to the voice of his shepherd, that means that I can develop an ear to hear my Creator. So when you and I hear this analogy that Jesus is the good shepherd, that he cares about us, that he's speaking to us, he's saying, honestly, this is the hard part for some of us, is that you have the ability to hear my voice. You have the ability to hear my voice. See, notice when we read the parable, the primary characteristic of a sheep is that they hear the voice of the shepherd and they follow the shepherd. Do you notice that? See, Jesus gives us this picture between a shepherd and a sheep, this relational picture, that he has a relational with his sheep, that his voice is not one to many, that his voice is one to one. That he says, I know you by name. I know you. It's not like I'm throwing it out there and I don't know who I'm talking to. No, I have a relationship with you. That you and I, to become an apprentice of Jesus, we need to have a vibrant, passionate, interactive, living relationship with him. That is how it works. How do we develop an ear to hear his voice? How do we develop an ear to hear his frequency? I'm glad you asked. We move towards that voice. In other words, we spend time with that voice. See, I remember when I was a kid, my mom is a Latina mom. Sometimes Latina mom has some crazy ideas about life. Just saying, you know. Now my wife is one, so I don't know what she's going to come with. But you know, one of the things my mom believed is that at one point there was a season of her life that she believed that I needed to drink a glass of water every hour of the day. Let me tell you how committed she was about this. That I will be in the street 5 blocks away from the house, and she will carry a glass of water and yell my name, Tony. She didn't know where I was at. She just yelled out and hoping that she's going to find me. The problem is, you know, this started messing up my reputation as a kid. My friends would know that when she would yell at me with a glass of water, they would tell me, Tony, it's time for your water. She's messing up my reputation over here, my mom. Come on. To build something here, woman. But I remember that she would go into the streets, and I could be 5 blocks away from her, and I can hear her voice, and I knew it was her. Not because she called my name. There was something that I knew about that voice that I know that she's calling my name. Because I spent time with my mom. Because I was with my mom the whole time. Because there was at times it was only her and myself. I knew because I spent time with her. That's how you and I develop an ear for the voice of God. That you and I spend time with that voice. See, some of us, we're intrigued by this idea, like the voice of God, we can hear his voice. Maybe some of us, we have heard, and can I be honest for a moment? Many of us, we have settled for less to hear the voice of God through the noise, through the frequencies, like fighting for you. We have settled for that because we don't want to build and cultivate what is needed to hear his voice more clear and more loud. We have settled for less many times. What does the voice of God sound like, look like? I mean, God does not have a body, meaning he doesn't have vocal cords that produce waves and sounds that he can communicate. What does that sound like? If you ask me. See, the Greek word that Jesus used here in hearing his voice is the word akovo. Akovo means hearing a sound, but also means understanding. In other words, when I ask my wife, babe, are you okay? And she tells me, yeah, I'm okay, yeah. Or there's other moments that I ask my wife, babe, are you okay? And she's like, yeah, I'm okay. I'm hearing what she's saying, but I know her personality. See, I know her personhood, and I know that what she's saying does not match with what she's feeling. Because I know her, I understand her. See, some of us, we have settled, we know what the Bible says, but we don't understand God. That you and I need to understand how he works, how he functions, his mind, his heart, his character, because his voice will always match his character. His voice will always match his character. So we need to understand who Jesus is. It's not so randomly a noise that comes, and we need to understand him, how he works, his character, his personhood, what he thinks, how he functions. See, this voice will always match his character. Jesus says, I'll speak and my sheep know my voice. See, may I give you a little note real quick? If the voice that you say is God, if that voice agrees with you in everything, if that voice never challenged your character, if that voice believes everything that you do, if that voice excuses your decisions all the time, if that voice never challenged your character, that might not be the voice of God. Just throwing it out there. Because some of us, the voice of God agrees with us in everything. That is not God. God will challenge you. God is trying to prune and remove everything, every lie, everything that keeps you away from becoming the person he designed you to be. See, this voice is tailored for you. It can appeal to your context, to your personality, to your upbringing, to your gender, to your story. That we don't need to learn how to say the right words. We don't need to learn how to say the Christianese thing to say. We need to learn how to listen. That's what we need to learn. You know, they asked one time Mother Teresa, when you pray to God, what do you tell God? And she says, I don't say anything. I just listen. So you and I need to learn how to listen to him. Because you know, you and I have the capacity to ignore and dismiss his voice. You and I have the capacity to do that. See, in the Old Testament, part of the problem with the Hebrew community is that God will speak and he will say things and he will call them and they would ignore it and they would not act on it. That the way you and I can train our listening to God, you know how you train and you develop that muscle? That every time that he speaks, you obey. That every time that he speaks, you respond to that. See, sometimes the best way to desensitize yourself from the voice of God is that he speaks and you never do anything about it. You best believe that if you keep not responding and not obeying, that voice is going to fade away more and more and more through the noise of your life. But the way you develop a muscle in hearing his voice is that you act on it. Because that helps you understand, oh, I heard that before. I know how that works. I know the character of God. You act on it. You obey on it. See, because his voice is not reserved for only spiritual, mature people. His voice is for everyone. But it does require obedience. It does require a response from us. That's what it requires from us. See, many of us, we might feel frustrated because we're like, man, God doesn't speak. He might be speaking the thing that you don't want to hear, but he might be speaking. See, in the Old Testament, there's this prayer that would transcend generation to generation to generation. They used to call it, they call it the Shema. The Shema says this, listen, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord alone. And you must love the Lord your God with all your heart, all of your soul, and all of your strength. Listen. See, the word listen, the word listen means I'm sorry, the word here means listen. But because we don't have a nuance of that word, also means obey. In other words, maybe in the English language, we might have something like that when we tell someone, hey, listen to me. Meaning, I'm about to communicate something to you, and I need you to act on it. So what God is telling the Hebrew people is, I need you to hear me out and act on it. That is obedience. That when God speaks to us, we must respond. That when God speaks to us, the only way we're going to be able to join him in the purpose that he has for us is when we obey. That if we don't respond to that, then we will never experience what he has for us and the plan that he has for us. What is he doing? What is he orchestrating for us? It's in us responding to his voice and obeying his voice that we will experience the fullness of what he's doing within us. Jesus says, my sheep know my voice. I'm going to ask the band to come forward as we conclude this conversation. You know, one of the hardest things for me in this process of becoming a pastor, it's hard that I get to have conversations with friends and families and people around, and right away they point out to the people that have abused his voice. See, his voice is so powerful that when we abuse it, it causes a major impact. You know, unfortunately, we have misused it with people saying, well, God said this, and this is what you have to do. Well, God said that. You need to do this. I'm afraid sometimes to say that word, to be quite honest with you. Not because I don't believe God speaks. I believe God speaks. I just want to be very careful when I say it. And I think they have abused that so much that many people have walked away from that. Many people have made a decision that I don't want nothing to do with that. We also have a problem. We have used the voice of God to tell everyone not to do. This is the things that you shouldn't be doing. And then when we come closer to God, we're like, yeah, I don't know if I want to come closer to a God that always is trying to tell me what not to do. I have a problem with that. Definitely there's things that we need to let go. There's things that we need to surrender. There's things that we need to give it to God. There's things that we need. That is not a doubt. But when the voice of God is only about the things that we shouldn't be doing, that is not the voice of God. He says in verse 10, the thief purpose is to steal, kill, and destroy. My purpose is to give them a rich and satisfying life. That where he's trying to take us is not to a place where we don't do anything, but he's trying to take us to a place where we enjoy the abundant life that he has for us. The life that we were meant to live. The new life that he has for us. The marriage that we desire. The relationships that we want. That only happens by you and I learning how to move towards that voice. Quiet the noise around you. To listen to what he has to say about your life and others. I remember when I first came to know Jesus, I remember my best friend taking me to church, and they brought me to a church like this, and they brought me to the front, and my friend asked this older Salvadorian man, hey, can you pray for him? And they asked me, hey, can we pray for you? I was like, sure. I guess that's what you guys do. And then, have you received Jesus as your Lord and Savior? I was like, I know him. I guess I heard about him. Sure, I can do that. That was how I reacted to this whole thing. And I remember this man started praying for me. This He doesn't know me. He didn't know nothing about me. And the best way I can describe it to you, and you might think I'm crazy or might not, I don't care at this point, it changed my life. But I remember I was in this place, and all of a sudden when this older Salvadorian man started praying for me, all of a sudden this voice that I feel like my heart knew that voice before. Like I feel like that voice brought peace to my soul. Like that voice knew me. Like that voice is like the shepherd calling his sheep. Like my soul knew that voice. And all of a sudden everything stopped. And it was only that voice in my life. And right away I understood, whenever that voice speaks, I need to respond to it. Every time that he spoke, I need you to serve. All right? They put me to serve in the sound system. I don't know sound systems. I don't know music. I don't know nothing. I just went for it. That's what it needed in my small Latino church. I need you to move to LA because I want you to go and prepare yourself. I guess so. Let's do it. How am I going to pay for this, God? Don't worry. I need to stay in LA because I need to build community here and learn more. I guess, God, let's do this. Honestly, I tell friends, like, if you would have put me in line with all of the generation of my Bible school, I was probably one of the least persons that would become a pastor. Because I didn't have the skill set, I didn't have the knowledge, I didn't have anything else. I did have something. Every time that voice spoke, I would go. That was the difference. I was crazy enough to hear that voice and say, all right, you said it, I'll go. Friends, to this point in my life, I can be honest with you and say, it has only been me saying yes to that voice. Have I missed it? Of course. Have I not listened to it at times? Of course. I have made many mistakes, and I'm hoping that I can get to, I'm like 100 years old, and I can hear that voice clearly. Because I obey, and I work and move towards that voice. And the noise is lesser and lesser and lesser and lesser. And my insecurities are lesser and lesser and lesser. And my brokenness is lesser, lesser, lesser. My own voice is lesser, lesser, and lesser. God speaks. And I believe to some of you, He's speaking to you right now. Some of you guys have been playing church for too long. It's time. Jesus is calling you back. For some of us, we need to take this step. Maybe you need to get baptized. It's time. Don't be afraid. He will lead you. How? He will speak to you. For some of us, we've been walking away from being part of what's happening in this community. It's time. God is going to speak to you. And the best way you develop a muscle is obey. So I'm going to ask you to stand, and I want to pray for you. And I'm also going to call the prayer team to come forward, because some of us, we need prayer. Some of us, we need that touch from someone. If you're here, well, all eyes closed in this room, family. If you want to go deeper with Jesus, if you want to invite Jesus into your heart, this is the moment for you. If this is time to move towards that voice. If this is you, I'm going to ask you to make a bold stance and just raise your hand. I want to pray with you. If this is you, this is the moment. This is the moment. The life that you're looking for is on the other side of you following that voice. If this is you, raise your hand. The marriage that you're looking for is by you hearing and obeying that voice. Love it, love it, love it across the room. Family, let's pray. All of us together. Jesus, come to my heart. Jesus, come to my heart. Clean my soul. Forgive all of my sin and my brokenness, God. I bring it and surrender it to you. Give me that new life that you offer. Let me develop a hearing and a muscle that I can hear your voice, and give me the boldness to obey and step forward, God. God, whatever you're speaking to us, let us have the boldness to step in and to move forward to the life that you have for us. We ask you this in your beautiful name, Jesus. If you need prayer as we worship, as we close, feel free to come forward, and we would love to pray for you.
Thank you for being a part of our online community here at Project Church. We hope that this message and the whole service bless your life.
Yeah, and if it did, we want to ask that you would do something for us. First of all, if you're not already subscribed to our YouTube channel, be sure to subscribe, like this video, but also we would ask that you would consider financially supporting what God is doing through Project Church. You can give in a variety of ways. You can text Project to 97,000 right now. You can give through our Church Center app, or you can give on our website, projectchurch.com/give. Thanks so much for being a part of our online community. And once again, God bless you guys. We'll see you soon.